viewers, thank you for joining the Requst show. Today we have a special guest on the show. It's no other person than David Lang-Warner and WCTB Boys going to be joining us on the show. Our first guest is the founder and director of the Irish Innocent Project, which helped those wrongly convicted and imprisoned here in Ireland. The organization recently celebrated their first case convicted, resulting in Irish State first post-mortem pardon was given to Harry Glinson. Glinson was convicted in 1941 in the shooting of Mary Mull McCarthy, who was shot dead in Tipperary 70 years ago. Newly discovered evidence by the Irish Innocence Project found that the prosecution withheld information that was supposed to be more useful to the case. But relating to gun register, and also shown that the Gardaí encouraged witnesses to submit false statements. But let's take a look at more of what the Irish Innocence Project is.
The Irish Innocence Project was started in 2009 by David Lang-Warner, who's the Dean of Law at Griffith College and a barrister. And it's one of 68 projects that are recognized around the globe by the Innocence Network. Before I came, there was only one project out of those 68 that had both law and journalism students working cooperatively on cases. Now there are two, and I'm glad to say that the Irish Innocence Project has expanded to include journalism students that are now working on these cases. There's a real connection that happens when you're sitting across listening to somebody telling you about what happened to them and how, for no apparent reason, they were arrested, they were tried, they were convicted, and they were sentenced for something they didn't do. And so it's very often quite a profound and sometimes painful experience for students to see what happens when a wrongful conviction happens. It happens sadly all too often, and it happens to anybody. It can happen to anybody, and it does happen to anybody.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm very good. Please give it one more time. Thank you.
I should say, of course, that video you saw was my much more attractive colleague, Anne Driscoll, who's the project manager. I'm the founder and director of the project.
Yeah.
And she did a terrific job in that. It's a campaign we have called Be the Key, Set an Innocent Free. And since we're a registered charity, I encourage everybody here and all your audience to donate to the registered charity through that structure or through the structure of the Irish Innocence Project.
Great. Now, David, can you talk us through about the Irish Innocence Project? You started since when it was 2009.
Yeah, the Innocence Project as a concept started in America in 1992 with two lawyers called Barry Scheck and Peter Nuffield, both of whom are coming on the 26th and 27th of June to Dublin for the first International Innocence Conference, which is being hosted by the Irish Innocence Project. Barry Scheck's a very famous, world-famous lawyer. He, I suppose, is most famous for representing O.J. Simpson. He rather tartly remarks he hasn't represented a guilty person in 28 years. I wonder why that is. But Barry set up this, with Peter Nuffield, this incredible project to rectify a problem in the criminal justice system. And that is that people lose interest with people when they're in prison. The assumption is that once someone is sent to prison, that the process has been legitimate, that the person is in fact guilty and deserves what's coming to them. And initially, the initial impetus was what's called DNA evidence. The DNA evidence of 15 years ago, the Americans called junk science. People were sent to prison on evidence that is no longer scientifically valid. And on DNA tests alone, the Innocence Project in America has exonerated, that means got out of prison, over 300 people on death row. 1,500 people total on DNA alone. But the project has expanded way beyond the DNA base to encompass a number of different things. And I can explain them to you if you want. But as far as I was concerned, I had been lecturing, which I still do in the Honourable Society of the King's Inns, teaching clinical legal education. And I came up with this idea that it would be useful in teaching clinical legal education to get students, because the students are the lifeblood of the project, to work in these cases. And the structure of the project is under my supervision and now Anne's as well. And we have volunteer lawyers who largely volunteer their services for free.
Wow.
23 or 24 student caseworkers. Moreover, now we have 30 files to determine whether someone is rightfully in prison or not.
Wow. And is it true that you're currently working on 28 other cases?
Yes.
And what is the process in dealing with each of these cases as they come along?
Well, as they come in, we assign a supervising lawyer and some students to work with them. Now, it depends on the complexity of the case, how many students we would assign.
Okay.
But initially, we do what I would call a desktop review. We work out whether there's anything we can do. I mean, sometimes the people, when we send them back a questionnaire, it's clear we can't help them. I mean, if somebody says to us, I didn't commit murder, but it was manslaughter, that is not an innocent person, so we simply don't help. Sometimes, regrettably, there is no way we can help them. That's a very disturbing feature.
Does that have to do with financial issues?
No, it's nothing. It's nothing to do with financial issues. It is to do with the impossibility of finding something new or newly discovered.
Like an evidence, more or less.
Yes. We believe some people are innocent, but we have to get that process started, discover a new or newly discovered fact, something that is unique, that wasn't there at the original trial, or something which was there, but the significance of it wasn't appreciated. I mean, if you take the Gleason exoneration, without being too complicated for your viewers, there was a gun register. Now, at the trial, the judge asked for the gun register twice. The prosecution barrister said twice, prosecution lawyer, we don't have the gun register and it won't show anything. Now, we got the gun register and it clearly did show something. I could tell you what it showed in more detail.
And the kind of the evidence that was
So
used.
that was something that was there, but the full significance of it wasn't appreciated at the time. Now, if we don't have something specific to go with, then we're in difficulties happening so much.
Okay, welcome. Let's talk to your most recent success regarding the Gleason. We heard from one of the relative of video who actually said that the conviction, if we have that up, no, we don't have it yet, but how is the relative felt when the judge gets to, I mean, when their case was overturned?
Well, I mean, they were joyous. There is... Harry was obviously executed 70 years ago, which is a long time, but his nephew is still alive and his grandnephew. And they were instrumental in the formation of this group called the Justice for Harry Gleason Group. They've campaigned tirelessly for his innocence.
Yeah.
They came to us and I took on the case. I must say I had to convince other members of the project because they kind of laughed at me and said, it's a dead case, he's not alive.
True.
And what can we do after 70 years? And I said, well, I'll take it on. And I brought on somebody who's now on our charitable board, who's a terrific guy called Tertius von Eden. And we worked very closely on it for a long period of time. And what we discovered was extraordinary.
Wow, wow.
So they're joyous now that the Minister for Justice has, for the first time in the history of the Irish state, given what's called a posthumous pardon. That is a pardon to somebody who's dead. It's unprecedented in Ireland. It has happened in other countries, but unprecedented in Ireland. And they're very pleased about it. I want to thank Minister Fitzgerald publicly. The difficulty with the Innocence Project is we're always seemingly antagonistic to the state, but we're not necessarily so. We're in favour of justice and the truth. And I want to thank Minister Fitzgerald for her assistance.
Big applause for that. That's very good. Thank you. Now, let's look at more questions that has to do with yourself. Recently, it was quoted on the Irish Examiner on June 2nd, which stated that the level of corruption here would have been equivalent to the states in terms of looking at the case in different areas.
I think it is the case that we have structural problems within the system about the training of the Irish police, about whether and to what extent they actually do investigate things, about their mindset. The mindset is to secure a conviction. It's a bad mindset to have. The mindset should be to establish whether someone did it or not to try and achieve a result to secure a conviction. And I think they need to be, and sometimes, regrettably, the police involve themselves in the embellishment of evidence, the exclusion of those things consistent with innocence, and at worst, they fabricate. So let's be positive about it, shall we?
No, yeah, of course,
To
yes.
be positive about it, what we need to do is retrain.
Retrain. But if we look at the past,
Yes.
let's take out, just kind of rewind a little bit at the past. The past terms of the way the police are dealing with cases in the past and the transparency
Well, and
of
today.
now. I mean, there should be a lot of more difference in terms of evidence.
You know, I mean, we don't have a death penalty anymore, which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, so that's one thing. The Gleeson case was extraordinary, but we see many contemporary extraordinary examples of people we don't believe should be in prison.
True, true.
In certain types of cases particularly. And it's a disturbing feature of the Irish system. The Americans looked at our statistics that if you're a minority in this country, you stand a significant greater chance of being either targeted or convicted. And also certain types of offences, particularly sex offences, lead to very high conviction rates on very dubious evidence. So, I mean, yes, of course, things have got better a little bit, maybe significantly. But that doesn't mean we should be complacent and not understand the significant levels of change. I mean, the statistics internationally are that between 4 and 10% of people, depending on the state, depending on the offence, are wrongfully imprisoned. And that's a frightening thing for a democracy to have to accept.
It is, really. Let's look at your most recent, I think we're looking there where it says you have a conference coming up at the end of the month here, which is June.
Yes,
briefly tell
you're
us about
invited.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Can you briefly tell us about what it's all about and the event and when is it going to be open to the general public?
It is open to the general public. It's on the 26th and 27th of June. The first day is some of the most famous human rights lawyers in the world are coming. Professor Scheck himself is coming, Barry Scheck. Perhaps even more well-known than Professor Scheck, Gareth Pearce, who's a hugely important lady who was responsible for freeing the Guildford Four and Jerry Conlon, is coming from London. She rarely comes to anything. And a whole lot of other famous lawyers. And on the second day, and this is my colleague Anne Driscoll's idea, she said, why don't we have the first ever international wrongful conviction film festival? So we're showing 8 films with a lot of directors and producers coming, including the Irish producer Jim Sheridan. And these are films that will highlight the various causes of miscarriage of justice, because it's only in the last 9 to 10 years that people have fully, the pennies dropped. People fully understand that this stuff happens far too often.
Right, before we wrap it up there, can you tell us about your charity? If people want to donate, in terms of donation is going on.
Please do, because we need to pay for Miss Driscoll's salary. And, you know, I mean, so we need to establish ourselves on a financial footing, including paying for Miss Driscoll's salary. So please do donate. You can visit our website.
Yes.
irishinnocence.org. I've probably got that wrong.
irishinnocence.com.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
And excuse my generational failure. And we also have a campaign called Be the Key, Set the Innocent Free. But the first thing to donate. And we are a registered charity, and I would be really grateful. It's a worthwhile cause. We give students, I should say this in conclusion, I'm overrunning my time, but we give students tremendous clinical experience. We give them a huge human rights consciousness. We train them, I think, in a better way in many ways than they would get, you know, filing documents in the bottom floor of a law firm. You know, students, through the structure of the Irish Innocence Project, have done cases in Greece. We've got a death penalty case in Kenya and loads of cases in Ireland. So donate.
Thank you very much for David.
Not all.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks.
Please give it up one more time for that. Thank you. Coming up next is an international breakdancing group. They're going to be joining us later on in the show, and these guys are one of those people I needed to see. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. Thank you. Thank you.